Bill Peterson. He's the director of the State Historical Society of North Dakota, and he's on with us right now. Bill, good to have you on News and Views.
Hey, good morning, Joel.
Give us, first off, let's make sure for those people who have never been there, what the State Historical Museum is, so people understand it.
Sure. Well, the Heritage Center and State Museum is the State Museum. We house not only the public part of the museum, but the state archives, the State Historic Preservation Office, the State Archaeological Offices. There's 4 departments: audience engagements and museums, administration, archaeology and historic preservation, and state archives. So about 210,000 people visit it every year. It's one of North Dakota's. It's one of the most visited state historical societies in the country per capita. I mean, we do amazing work here, and I'm super proud to lead it.
Well, and if you've never been there, my suggestion to you is go. Because I've been through all of it, and it's an absolutely fabulous and beautiful place. And for me, I took my kids, and I've yet to take all my grandkids, and I want to. So there's the compliment I'm going to give you, Bill.
Hey, thanks.
You bet. I want to also point out that you're chair of the Joint Military Museum Advisory Committee. You've started construction, and clearly you don't have the money to pay all the bills. What's going on?
Well, we started construction, Joel, as you know. We made the decision. I made the decision based on some contributing factors that included favorable fundraising forecast. We thought we'd get 90% probability to raise the funds to unlock the SIF by July 1st, 2025. We had an available $20 million line of credit, favorable construction forecasts, and estimates were coming our way, Joel. As you know, construction costs never go down. And the idea that we would also have availability of bridge funds or construction financing ultimately played into the decision to go ahead and start. Large projects, as you know, like this, when they're public-private capital projects, they commonly combine construction with ongoing fundraising. Beginning construction avoided inflation, secured favorable pricing, and I think it demonstrated momentum while we continued with our corporate fundraising.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate with some of that. You said that construction projects, the cost doesn't go down. I mean, that's a factor that you can figure in. I mean, it really is. And of course, the one thing that you shouldn't be worried about is the construction costs, because once you go to bid, the bid is the bid, provided there aren't a whole lot of change orders involved in it. Now, that being said, you just pointed out that, you use the terms as you know. Here's what I do know. I've never started a construction project in my life without having the money I needed to pay the bills, or at least knowing I was going to have the money to pay the bills. So you pointed out that, and I want to make sure it says you made the decision. Why? If you didn't have the money to pay the bills, why?
Because we thought the timing would line up and that everything would be, like I said, that the timing would line up and that we'd have the availability of bridge funding when we needed them, construction financing.
Okay, so then let me ask it a different way. Bill, why were you wrong?
Well, I don't think I was wrong, Joel. I can see why you'd see it that way. But like I said, the members of the JMAC are some of the most knowledgeable people in the state. They were advising us to move forward with the project. I think the legislative intent was to move forward with the project. The SIF funding had an emergency clause on it so that we could have unlocked it sooner if we'd have had the money to start fundraising. And it turns out that some of the fundraising climates and some of the fundraising forecasts didn't pan out, and we ended up in a little bit of a bind in July, so we stopped construction.
There's been a lot of people pointing to, the private firm that's doing the fundraising for you. Shannon Schwagert was in with us, and we had their explanation. And, of course, they kind of danced around some of the questions because they know who their building partners are, and you can't really go on record on things. It seems to me they didn't want to go on record on, and I understood that. Are they doing?
Do you mean like keeping the confidentiality of potential donors?
Well, yes. Number one. Number two, who's at fault here? Who's to blame for the fact that there's a hole in the ground and not the money to build what's being proposed to be built? And so, they weren't going to point to you, or they weren't going to point to the state of North Dakota or the legislature or anybody like that. They were going to talk about, the economics of the time, those type of things. I understand it. If that's the case, as you pointed out, are they good at their job? Should they still have their job?
I think PACE Fundraising is doing a great job, Joel. I think that we've faced some economic head changes in the climate in the last 14 months. There's some factors that I think have impacted philanthropic giving. They've had, and I say they, but it's we. It's a team project. PACE has been part of the program or the project's partners since the beginning, right? So there's a long list of those partners. The Office of Management and Budget, Capital Grounds Planning Commission has been aware of this. The legislature has been made aware of this in two sessions. The National Guard, of course, is our main partner. We've been working with them for a number of years. So PACE has continually kept everybody apprised of the situation in the current fundraising, and I think they're doing a great job. There's 65 donor prospects out there, as you know, with $75 million in proposals that are coming through or that are been proposed. And if half of those come through, this project will fulfill its obligation to raise the $40 million private obligation that the project has promised the legislature.
So you say the legislature has been made aware. Are you talking about budget shortfalls, or are you talking about the project itself and the timing of when you're going forward?
Project itself, timing we're going forward, I presented at the legislative budget section last December after we broke ground and told them where we were with fundraising. At that point, we were still at about $9.4 million in what we thought we had in hand coming as part of the Unlocking the SIF. As you know, we a couple of large donations, including one was rescinded, and so that number in February got reduced back to $4 million. That's been one of our significant issues.
Can you tell me who rescinded that large donation?
I can't. The fundraising world is not the world I live in necessarily, but it is the world that Shannon lives in, and keeping that information confidential. Shannon has reengaged with that donor, and hopefully there's a chance to recoup that cost and get that donation back on track. So we try to keep all of our large donors confidential until they go up on the donor wall in the future.
And I understand that, but if I didn't ask, I wasn't doing my job. I get it.
Oh, sure,
and I think that, let me ask you this. One of the things that a lot of people are pointing to is the competitive nature of fundraising in a state, with 800,000 people in it. So, a lot of people are pointing from your organization or the people involved to the Teddy Roosevelt Library and how they kind of took all the oxygen out of the room. When I think about that, if I was still in one of those legislative chairs, I would say you knew about that. I mean, it
wasn't a secret.
Yeah, I mean, you knew they were raising money, you knew they were pretty popular, and you knew they were out there, and so we still went forward. And so yep. I just want to let you speak to that.
Well, I think the two projects are very different, right? And so I would never blame any hardship I have on somebody else, right? So I'm thrilled to see the Roosevelt Library open. They've done a great job. They've raised an enormous amount of money, as you know. I mean, I like to think of it as in scale, right? They had $500 million to raise. We're raising a sixth of that. So I think it's a different project completely. And I think they had a lot of donors. I haven't been privy to all of their donors, but I think they had a lot of out-of-state and national donors at really large levels. So I'm not sure the audiences were the same audiences.
Okay. I don't know that the audiences are the same audiences as much as what I know. There's only so many people with money.
Sure.
And so the donors are the same donors. Can we agree on that?
Some of them are probably the same. Sure, we can agree on that. And I would say that now that the Roosevelt Library is open, we can re-engage with those donors and show them this project and give them a chance to invest here as well, because this is a fantastic project.
So the North Dakota legislature coming in, this is going to be in front of them. And you're going to walk in that room and you're going to ask for money. Can you tell us how much money you need?
Sure. We're going to ask for the proposed legislation. It's I think they proposed $35 million. It's a line of credit, which is not a handout, not a gift. to allow us to continue fundraising while we continue the construction financing, which was an opportunity that I pursued to find out, how I could do that without asking the legislature. And, ultimately, it turned out that's a legal impossibility for me to do. So we needed some way to move forward with them that perhaps has involved something that does involve the legislature. So fortunately, they're in a position to help. The proposed legislation, like I said, is not a handout of taxpayer dollars. It's a line of credit to be repaid from future donations. And our plan, and if you talk to Shannon at Pace, you know that his plan is to win this campaign and deliver the funds as promised.
Yeah, we did. And certainly that was the positive attitude he had. I don't want to dismiss that. That being said, if I was back in one of those Senate seats as I was for 14 years, I'd look at you and say, how long you need this money for and when do we get it back?
Right. Good question. I think 3 to 5 years is the pledges are accepted over a 3 to 5 year period. Then
the next question I would ask you is, do I get interest on that money so that North Dakota doesn't lose on it in terms of overall?
I'm happy to have that conversation with the appropriators when the time comes. I'd be happy to discuss that with them and see what their thoughts on it are.
Have you spoke to Governor Armstrong, and what has he told you? Did he assure you that you would be getting this money?
Governor Armstrong has made no assurances.
Okay, what if, as these individuals go forward, they say, look, here's an incentive for you. You can have $15 million. You can have half now, and you've got to come up with the other half, or else we still end up with a hole in the ground.
Right. Well, it's not going to be a hole in the ground. It's more than a hole in the ground now. But Joel, you're right. Absolutely right. As you know from your time in the Senate. Thank you for your service, by the way. Sometimes these bills have a way of evolving in the course of a session. Now, I've never been to a special session, so I don't know what this is gonna entail. But there's opportunity for the appropriators to discuss this and comes out. So if it comes out at something less than that, we're gonna work with all of the people that are involved in this project to come up with the best plan and the most effective use of these dollars as we go forward while we continue the fundraising, because the fundraising is not in jeopardy. The project is not in jeopardy. We have a little bit of a timing issue and a cash flow problem, and we're going to address that in the most appropriate ways that we can.
Are there any contracts that have charged us penalties for not being able to go forward with the contract we agreed on?
No, they're entitled to payments related to the pause, right? The general contractor, the construction manager at risk is Krause Anderson. They are entitled to not incur extra costs going on this. So the cost of the shutdown is like $157,000 a month. There'll be remobilization costs. There was demobilization costs, but unless we cancel the contract, we won't be in breach of contract, and that contract with them and the guaranteed maximum price will stay in effect until the project's complete.
Okay, so I want to make sure I just heard that right. What we're saying is, or what I'm hearing is that the contract that we have with the contractor that's building this is not going to be, I'm not talking about in jeopardy as much as what are we living up to our agreement with them so that we pay them exactly the money that they have coming to them?
Yes,
now,
they will get the
currently.
Currently. Well, currently there isn't any money coming to them, right? So there are some ongoing monthly costs that will be handled, as I understand it, as change orders and assigned to us when the project restarts, which it will always start. So there is that in the contract, and that was spelled out in the contract, and this contract, had in it, the pause language, right? Because everybody knows in projects these size that from time to time you incur difficulties. So the language of the contract did have information in there that in case we needed to have a pause like this.
Okay, so in case we needed to have a pause like this, how much extra money is it going to cost the state of North Dakota?
Like I said, there's the ongoing monthly costs related to the site. That's about $157,000 a month, and plus interest. I don't have that off the top of my head, Joe. I'd be happy to look it up and get back with you.
Okay. Bill, I asked you some tough questions, but you've got those coming and more for the special session. And
sure
so let me let you, before we go to a break and get people's comments and takes on all this, let me make sure that you get a chance to speak to them. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, I would say, I've heard a couple of things that, there's little oversight and no authority, and I would share that, starting with the Attorney General and our board and the National Guard and our partners, the idea that we're running around here spending taxpayer money willy-nilly without a plan or without any oversight or without any authority, that's just absurd, right? There's dozens of people involved in this, OMB and facility manager, foundations. My board contains, a number of highly professional people that are very accountable within the state. So, the project is a great project. It deserves to be completed, and it will be completed. We're just having a little bit of a problem right now that will be solved, and I'm thankful for the legislature for deciding to help us solve it.
Okay. Last one. I've got 1 minute to go. Did the governor promise you that he was going to call a special session to fix this?
Oh no, I think the governor said publicly that he wouldn't. If he was going to call a special session for this, he wouldn't have waited 2 months while the prime construction season went on.
Okay.
I think he said that on a different radio show, but I could be wrong.
Well,
I'm not.
There's a reason nobody heard it then. So, all right. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Is that it?
You bet. That's it. Thanks for coming on.
Good talking to you, Joel.
All right.